Shalom, friends of Israel. I am Joe Wolfson, first Vice President of the Jewish National Fund USA Board of Directors. Thank you for joining us today on our daily briefings as we continue to stand in solidarity with our family and friends in Israel through this incredibly difficult time. Joining us today is former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert. Mr. Olmert served as Israel's Prime Minister from 2006 through 2009. And he was in office during the Second Lebanon War of 2006, Hamas's bloody takeover of the Gaza Strip in 2007, as well as during Hamas's frequent rocket barrages from Gaza in 2008. Through it all, Mr. Olmert engaged in dozens of peace negotiations with the Palestinian leadership and came close to achieving a two-state solution. We feel very fortunate to have him here today to speak to us on his perspective on what's going on in Israel, and we appreciate him taking the time. Mr. Olmert, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm delighted and really excited to have this opportunity. First of all, I want to thank all of you who are day in and day out sharing with us the concerns, the pains, and the complexity of the situation which we are engaged in. And today is just the 38th day since the October 7th, which probably has changed Israel in many ways forever. Israel of today is an entirely different country from what it was only 6 weeks ago. One of the most important things, perhaps the most important thing, is that we are all united. Prior to October 7th, as you all know, we had divisions and demonstrations and riots and arguments and many disagreements within us. They have not disappeared, but they have been set aside because right now there is something which is a lot more important for all of us. And this is to, first of all, to save the hostages, the 239 hostages, which are still kept by Hamas, somewhere underground, on ground, in one corner or another corner of Gaza. We don't know exactly, at least I don't know. I hope that our government agencies perhaps at this time know a little bit more. And I know that they are doing every possible effort to try and find them out. You have to be very careful when you hear all kinds of news. A lot is fake, not always everything that is publicized about a deal that is imminent every moment, and that tens or more of the hostages are going to be released, and that there is one kind of a deal or another kind of a deal. We don't know. Right now, first of all, the Israeli soldiers are fighting. This is a very unusual event. It was not initiated by us. As you all know, we were forced to do it because the Israelis were attacked. And they were attacked and killed and butchered and slaughtered and beheaded and raped in their own houses, something that is very exceptional, even in the world of many atrocities which we live in various parts of the world. We always thought that this will not happen to us, and it did. And this is a great source of despair and of sadness and of disappointment, and also of a resolve that we have to do everything that something like that will never happen again. And the Israeli counter-offensive in Gaza became inevitable. I knew from day one when it started, and I was then interviewed by Kristen Amanpour for CNN, and she expressed her sympathies, as perhaps did everyone. I said that I know right then, I know that in 2, 3, 4 days, when the Israeli counter attack will take place, that the attitude of the international community will change. because the memory is very short and people remember for 1 or 2 or 3 days what happened to us, but now they will watch the pictures and the sights coming from Gaza when the Israeli soldiers will attack them. The Israeli Air Force will bomb their bunkers and their headquarters and where they are hiding. And the attitude will change, and all the sympathy and the understanding and the support will eventually disappear. And unfortunately, we have seen it, and it's depressing, but this is not something that can deter us or stop us from doing what needs to be done. And what needs to be done, and this is the main objective of the Israeli army, is to try this time to do what we failed to do until recently, which is to break down completely the military capacity of the Hamas. I know that there are all kinds of statements made, sometimes perhaps slightly exaggerated, that Hamas will vanish, will disappear, will not exist completely, all of them will be killed. Easier said than accomplished. It's difficult. But I can say that I'm very encouraged by the performance of the Israeli army. We are doing it in a very careful manner, I must emphasize. We really don't want to cause unnecessary collateral damage. We definitely don't we don't have any war with innocent, non-involved civilians. And most of the people living in Gaza are such. But there are very many who are part of Hamas, who assisted Hamas, who helped them hide in various places, who helped them install their launching pads in the residences of people in their houses where from they can shoot, and then they can use the innocent civilians or the non-involved civilians as a human shield to protect the Hamas. So there is a difficult situation, but we are not going to acquiesce with the protest of people. Some of them are good-willing and are supporters of the state of Israel who can't swallow the sights that they see, and they want Israel to stop it, to accept a ceasefire. The position of the overwhelming majority of people in Israel is we don't stop. We don't stop before we have accomplished what we need to accomplish, which is to reach out for wherever they hide. At this time being, we are now surrounding some of the public facilities and the hospitals that are used as a hiding place for the Hamas headquarters. They built their bunkers underneath the buildings of the hospitals, assuming that since we, the Israelis, are honest and are decent and are sensitive to public opinion, we will not dare attack those facilities because of the possible danger to the civilians that were hiding there. In the Shifa hospital, by the way, in the Shifa hospital, you should know, up until a month ago, every month, 50 operations were performed by Israeli physicians coming to Shifa, helping to save people there, working as physicians to assist people that are in acute danger for their lives, coming from Israel and then going back. That was the attitude that characterized the people of Israel. Many of them, by the way, lived in the Otef Aza, in all of these kibbutzim and moshavim which were devastated by the Palestinians. Many of them were volunteers that helped Palestinians, were driving them from Gaza to Israeli hospitals and back on a voluntary basis almost every day in order to help them. And they were amongst the first victims of these atrocious attacks that was carried out against us since October 7th. But so now we are not going to compromise. We are not going to accept a ceasefire. We are not going to stop. We are going to carry on. And we must say that until now, the attitude of the American administration was exemplary. If there was any doubt, I think it is quite clear now that President Biden and his administration manifested the greatest support, friendship, and devotion to the security of Israel, to the lives of Israelis, and to the need to defend the state of Israel from any possible ramifications of what has happened. They not only that the America sent two plane carriers and one atomic submarine and American soldiers, but the statements that the president made and the commitment of America to stand by Israel and to allow Israel to continue to do its duty in defending the state of Israel is a source of great encouragement and excitement for the people of Israel. This is something that has never been done in this manner in the entire history of the relations between the two countries. It's also true that we have never before been in a similar situation where the actual participation of the American military power and political power was as needed as it was in the last 6 weeks as a result of the attack. And also we have to say, and we all admit in the failure of our system to provide the initial defense and protection which was expected to our people. What happened, why it happened, what were the mistakes, who is responsible for it? I think that most of us know, but it's not something that I want to talk to you about right now. We'll find a time after the battle is over in order to deal with it. Now, what we have to do is to continue in this military thrust and at the same time to open our eyes and our alertness and awareness to the north border of Israel. As you may have mentioned before, in 2006, we were attacked by Hezbollah in the north, and we responded in a very devastating way that kept the Hezbollah quiet for 17 years. They didn't dare shoot one bullet across the border from Lebanon to Israel since August of 2006, more than 17 years. But recently, as a result of the developments in the south, the Hezbollah is involved presently in all kinds of skirmishes in the north, shooting rockets against Israeli targets. We had some casualties already. They had a lot more. But I can guarantee you that at this time now, based on what I know, the Israeli army is prepared in the north for any eventuality, and the Israeli Air Force, which is a threat that they are familiar with on the basis of what they have learned in the past, is mostly focused on the north rather than in the south, where we have ground forces, to the event that the Hezbollah will try to expand the hostilities far beyond what they have done up until now. I still remember that a couple of days after the 2006 Second Lebanese War, Sheikh Nasrallah, who was then the leader of, still is the leader of Hezbollah, he said, had he known 1% of what my reaction would be then, he wouldn't have started. So I kept saying now in my different interviews, public interviews, and many others of the government and military leaders told him, don't forget what you thought and you felt after the 2006 war, and you better watch it because this time it will be a lot worse. And you will regret the day that you will make a mistake and start again any comprehensive missile shooting to the townships and villages near the border or much further than the Israeli-Lebanese border. So as of today, we are focusing on four major targets. One is to continue the ground operation in Gaza, and it's a very efficient and very painful for the Hamas, and it will continue. And it's done as I said before, in a very careful manner. One of the reasons why we forced many of the residents of Gaza to move down south is in order to pull them out of the urban center so that we will be freer to fight there without having to worry about the possible consequences to non-involved civilians. This is one major effort that we're making. The other major effort, of course, is to make sure that not any unexpected developments will take place in the north border. And there are confrontations on a daily basis, many yesterday, perhaps more than before. Today, it's a little bit quieter, but it can erupt any minute. We are ready there with a lot of military power, a major part of the Israeli Air Force, drones, F-16, F-15, F-35, they are all ready. And we will make sure that we will not be surprised in a similar manner to what has happened in the south. Third is, of course, to take care of all the residents of the south and the north, which had to leave their homes in order to be away from the rocket shooting. And we have to take care of them. It's a major undertaking. Hundreds of thousands of people, both from the south and from the north, who now have to be taken care of. And there is an unbelievable movement of voluntary participation of thousands and thousands and thousands of Israelis, of just citizens of the state of Israel, who are extending their hands and their hearts and their homes and their properties and everything that they have in order to make the lives of the people that were forced out of their homes in both the north and the south, to make it much more comfortable and easier to absorb for as long as it will be needed. And finally, perhaps first, is the worry for the hostages. There is not much that can be said about it, and I have to be very careful. And I don't think that we should discuss publicly what should be the conditions for a deal of this nature or of the other nature. There is a fundamental obligation of the country, of the state, of the government, of our leadership to do everything in order to save them and bring them back home. There can be no compromise, no excuses, nothing that will prevent us from doing everything in our power to bring them back. They are not, most of the hostages are not soldiers, they are citizens that were pulled out from their homes and taken hostages. With military, sometimes you may have all kinds of arrangements that are made, and it's a different story. But nothing can justify not doing everything that we have, invest every resource that is under our command to bring back citizens that were pulled out from their homes and are now already 38 days in some places that may be terrible. Children of 2 years old, of 8 years old, of 10 years old, their parents, their mothers, their fathers, and elderly people. Some of them are not well physically and they need treatment, and we don't know what kind of treatment they may have there. And so this is an urgent and something that we can't wait in order to resolve, and we are making every possible effort everywhere, in every corner of the world where we can reach out for those that can facilitate this. And hopefully, sooner than later, we'll be able to do it. But again, I don't think that we can go into the specifics of what can be done and should be done, because it really involves the lives of these people who are not in the hands of Israel or in the control of our forces to provide them the immediate protection that they need. Finally, I want to say this. The country is strong. The people are strong. The spirit of the people of Israel is very much in this feeling that this is a test for the resolve of the state of Israel to provide the security and the protection to our country and to our citizens everywhere they are. It is very, very significant to find and to know that our Jewish brethren everywhere are with us. They care for us, they share with us, they feel for us, they cry for us, and they will fight for us. So I want to thank you for your involvement and your care. And I promise you, it will take some time. I don't know how much longer. I know that the international community is losing some patience because of the sights that come across all the media of seeing thousands and tens of thousands of Palestinians walking away from their residences into the south of Gaza, and to see the destruction of many parts of Gaza. The time will come that will provide all the explanations and all the will make all the arguments that can justify what we do. Right now, we have to do and not to apologize, because this is a war for the basic fundamental rights that every country and every people everywhere believe that they deserve. And we think that we deserve it just as well, and we'll do everything in order to protect it.
Mr. Olmert, thank you so much for meeting with us today and sharing your thoughts during this very difficult time. We know how hard you are working, and all Israelis are working for the protection and the future of the state of Israel. And we want you to know, and all Israelis to know, that JNF-USA has been with Israel, will be with Israel, and we're going to be there the day after this ends to work with you and all of Israel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I thank you on behalf of so many Israelis that can't meet you personally or in such a intimate Zoom meeting, but I believe that I speak for them and I feel for them, and I know how much they appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Our next speaker is our dear friend Eran Doron, mayor of Ramat, HaNegev. Eran joined us less than 10 days after the October 7 massacre. We will now hear from him as he shares with us his report and his thoughts 38 days into this conflict. Eran, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. To speak after Ehud Olmert is a big challenge, and I'll try to do my best. And Ehud Olmert had many shares here in Ramat HaNegev, so it was interesting always to hear from him. I won't repeat some of the things that you already heard from former Prime Minister. I want to reflect a few points that, at least from my perspective, about what's going on. I met yesterday the Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi. I want to tell you that despite this huge failure that we cannot understand and we cannot accept of what happened October 7th, I have full confidence that there is no anyone else better than Herzi Halevi to do what's need to be done. And I'll explain. I know Erzi for many years. Since he was the commander of the paratrooper division, which I served there, and throughout his different position in the army. I don't think I met in my entire life in the army, and at least for the last 33 years, someone that has such a deep understanding of the historical function or the historical role of Israel state today, echoing what we are saying in every prayer, every morning when we sing the Tikva about to be Am Chofshi Be'artzenu. And it's a wish of 2,000 years of diaspora. And there is no anyone else better than Erzi to understand the deep connection of the chain of generation that we are now in it. And of course, from army-wise, as Ehud Olmert said, the army is doing very good job while moving forward into Gaza, surrounding the city of Gaza, and doing more things that this is not the place to elaborate. Two of the targets that the government of Israel gave to the army is something that we need to understand. One, about the destruction of the Hamas. I think Ehud Olmert says exactly the truth that it will be hard to create a situation, a reality, that there won't be any threat from Gaza ever. It's not realistic. It can happen, not according to our values, and I will and I'll say why I'm putting it. The second target, the goal was to release those that were kidnapped. You have to understand that for an average Israeli, the fact that on October 7th, places like Be'eri, Kibbutz Be'eri, probably you all heard about it, you need to understand that Kibbutz Be'eri was settled in the end of Yom Kippur in 46, and it was part of 11 communities that in the end of Yom Kippur in 46, 11 communities were settled in some kind of operation that we as kids, as children, every children in Israel study and learned about this pioneering thing that they did in Yom Kippur 46. Kibbutz Be'eri is an Israeli symbol. Kibbutz Nahal Oz, it's another Israeli symbol. Kibbutz Nahal Oz, it's the first kibbutz in Israel that was settled by young soldiers of one young soldier that from that point on, many more Israelis settled more communities as they were soldier. Nahal Oz is an Israeli symbol. And those symbols that were destroyed, that were damaged, that were almost demolished, that were occupied, this is an Israeli, those are Israeli symbols that basically were burned in front of our eyes. And I have to tell you that the kidnaps, it's something that all of us, me as a child, you know, every one of you, probably you saw those movies about the Entebbe operation, and that's what the Israeli people want, Entebbe. Unfortunately, there is a big chance that it will be ending like more of Gilad Shalit. And it will be even worse if it will end as Ron Arad thing. I have to tell you that the kidnaps, the people who was the hostages, if they won't be back into Israel, most of them or all of them, I find it one of the maybe hardest thing compared to destroy the Hamas or to bring the kidnaps back into Israel, I'm not sure what the majority of the people of Israel will say, but I know that in order to maintain and to preserve the Jewish value, Kol Israel Arevim Ze Lazeh, there is no other alternative. And I met so many soldiers that were willing to put their life that in order that someone will come back. And if you try to understand maybe what we didn't know about October 7th, maybe this is exactly the point. Kol Israel Arevim Ze Lazeh. There is a cultural gap between us to the people in Gaza. And I don't know you in person. I know many faces of you, but I don't know everyone. But I'm sure that many of us, the majority of the people here, since we were brought up and raised according to Jewish values and in a democratic countries, we understand and we cherish the value of life. And we believe that if we will do something good for someone, he won't return it by killing us or slaughtered us or butcher us. This is a cultural gap. We were absolutely, and I spoke yesterday with Erzi, and they said that it's not a matter of preparation in terms of they could bring another brigade, they could bring another division. Definitely, they should have been prepared better and act much better when it started. But the basic mistake is a cultural gap of what we are having in our values compared to people that had instructions to kill babies. That's the story. But to make the second chapter of this story about cultural gaps is for you to understand that they did not understood that the Israel spirit is such a spirit that if they thought that judicial reform is taking us apart, now they realize that they put us together again, stronger than ever, because there isn't even single Israeli, maybe one, but 99% of the Israelis, including the Arab population, including the Bedouin population, that understand that this is a war for this is a war that we don't have any other alternative, because if the Hamas will do something that they will publicly will be like they win, so the Hezbollah will join, and who knows what will happen in this very tough neighborhood. I started with this just for you to think about and again, this is something that we every Israeli now needs to do his own search, his own soul searching about what was our very basic assumption of who are we dealing with and what is the outcomes of it. And I think the cultural gap is something that every one of us now understand that maybe, and it really doesn't matter if it was a different person from this prime minister, that there is no doubt that he should resign or take responsibility of this thing. And but again, no one, regardless, even if it was Ehud Olmert, he would do the same mistakes, because it's not it's a perception. It's how we understand life. This is our glasses on our eyes, and it's reflect our values. Now, with your permission, I'll do a very short presentation of few things that happens here as we speak. I hope that you will see it. We are now talking about 2,000 evacuees here in Ramat HaNegev. I don't know if you see the presentation.
We can see it.
Yeah, okay, because here it's working a little bit slow. We have 2,000 evacuees, and today basically we finished to absorb 400 kids into our school system. It sounds I don't know how it sounds 400, but believe me, when you have it's like growing in 30% in a day or in a week. but we did it with with a whole open heart, and we are the thing that we're more sorry about, that we cannot accept more than of the fact that it's taking us to the edge of our abilities. About the evacuees, I want to tell you the challenge of what the state of Israel is dealing with is complicated. It's complicated because the variety of communities is big. We're talking about 40 and more communities. Each one of them has a different character, different needs, and different situation or situation back home. There are some communities that they can go back today. There are some communities that won't be able to go back in 2 or 3 years, and all what's in between. And of course, this is about the physical condition of the communities, but we're talking about the mental condition. And that's why many of our efforts, with your supports, with your amazing supports, is giving first aid of mental support to everyone, including myself, everyone that's been there, that saw those things and met those people that they're looking at you. And I think this is the first time I understood something about something. Everyone needs mental help, some emotional support, everyone. After this, people need things like place to wash their laundry. You know, that there are people that left their homes with flippers and shirts, and still the people need a place to wash their laundry, places that they can do some cooking outside, because a Jewish mother, if she doesn't do, a Jewish Israeli mother, if she doesn't do a schnitzel and ptitim, it's like, maybe Tali will know, but those very common Israeli lunch in many houses here in Israel, it doesn't feel like home. So you have to do it. And the fact that people can go into some kind of a dining room, eat together as a community, it gives so much support. And of course, welcome banner in school to tell them that they are more than welcome. And it gets to small things like a hair dryer that you want to put people that can cut their hair, a barber, and on the way you train some people to be to know how to cut hair, and many platforms of meeting the people and sharing their experience of what they had. And again, everyone, even if he wasn't in a community that was attacked, there are some communities that weren't attacked, but even if they weren't attacked, they know a friend, a family member, someone that either he was murdered, kidnapped, or just got killed, and everyone knows. We are next door to them, and we know so many, and so I can't imagine how those people from the Eshkol Regional Council feel. More photos from getting pupils into those to the high school, and of course at the same time there are people that actually wanted to volunteer in picking up farming and picking up cherry tomatoes and doing something back to the communities. And again, doing something is, I'm not a psychologist, maybe I need one, but I don't. Doing is much better now than in a being. At least from my perspective, I'm not a specialist. The photo that you see about the farming, about volunteering into the farming, so I know that some of you will come here in a few weeks, and probably this is some of what you will do, just picking up cherry tomatoes, because the fact that at a wartime, Israel is still importing tomatoes from Turkey that support our enemies, it's ridiculous, and it can happen. So tomorrow I will have the Minister of Agriculture here. We're bringing more workers from abroad, from Sri Lanka, from Rwanda, from many places, and also Israelis got back to the original. They started to pick again cherry tomatoes, to go into the fields. We are remembering again what is to be an Israeli farmer. Again, we are a community of farmers, but I'm talking about people from Tel Aviv that I'm not sure that they knew where the cherry tomatoes from the coffee house is coming. Now they know it's connecting them to the rural area, to the periphery, and we see this the Israeli solidarity in rates that there were never been. I want to thank you, and I already said it in many occasions that without you, it wouldn't be the same. And I want to emphasize it because it's important for you to understand why. Probably many of you know bureaucracy is a given, okay? Every system has some kind of a bureaucracy, but things that doesn't work in routine, they will definitely not work in emergency. And Israelis are the best in improvising. We're really the best in it. But, and it's a big but, the systems that trying to work according to what the protocol that was in the routine to give an answers today to the needs of those evacuees or to the communities that absorbing those evacuees, it just doesn't work. You want an example? I'll give you. It started at October 7th, right? Thousands of people just escaped from the homes, or some of them were evacuated by the army, sent to hotels all over the country. Many of the people went to their families, went to bed and breakfast. 1 month after, almost 5 weeks after, the ministry that is taking care of it was changed twice. It was first of all the Interior Ministry, and then it was the Tourism Ministry, and now some other ministry. And they still didn't find the way to pay back to those small bed and breakfast, and I'm talking about hundreds of those all over the country, hundreds of people that hosted those evacuees, and still no one found the way to give those people money, payback. Still, we know how to take the Iranian archive, but we still didn't give those people a payback. And without you, it wouldn't happen. We couldn't take care of those evacuees without your support in so many aspects of life, including what I just mentioned. So it's when JNF-USA or ask, I want you to know, and from a first hand, and it's not because I love the people of JNF, I love them in routine and I love them in emergency. But what happened here, it's multiplying Israel's ability to take care of those evacuees, and taking care of those evacuees, it's strengthening our resilience. Strengthening our Israeli resilience, it's providing the army to continue to do what they need to do. It's closing a circle of strengthening the backup civilian society that will give the army the ability to do is what they need to do. That's why when I'm telling you thank you, I want you to know that it's a big thank you. I can actually shout this thank you through the ocean, but I don't know. I don't think I'll be in the national conference, but when I'll get there, I want to hug each and one of you, every one of you. I just want to hug you and tell you thank you. And the last thing that I want to tell you, it's about something about the spirit. Something that happened to us is that we were addicted to the security of Israel in a way that we put fences, we put cameras, and we forgot some basic things. And I just sat last weekend with my parents. They came after a month to see me. They live up in the north, and I live in the HaNegev, as you know. And my father told me that he was a child just before the establishment of the State of Israel. During World War II, my grandfather joined the British Army for 4 years. And my grandfather came back to the kibbutz 2 times in 4 years. Then in 1948, the 2 kibbutzes next to, on the Jordan-Syrian border with a hostile population, they were by themselves, and they were evacuated in 1948 to Haifa for 1 year. They lived 150 people in a high school, in a school in Haifa. It wasn't hotels in the Dead Sea or in Eilat. Not that I think that to be in a hotel, it's even harder. To be in a hotel in Eilat, it's harder than to be maybe in a place like this. But the fact that we already been there. And in Yom Kippur War, when I was a baby, it happened 50 and something years ago, as you know. My mother lived in Carmiel in a very crowded area by Arabs, Israeli Arabs, but it was a war, and it wasn't guaranteed that Israel will survive it. 5 months, my father was recruited to the army. My mother, with 3 boys, small boys, were by herself. But we knew all the time that we can protect ourselves. We can be small against many, and we can be. And when we know that it's the right thing and we have to do it, there was no other alternative, and we established this state. This is exactly the time. That's what we're doing now. We're standing back on our feet. I tell it to my communities. No one will protect us. No one will protect us but ourselves. So we gave weapons, and we understand now that it won't be camera, it won't be fences. It will be by the spirit that we can protect ourselves. We can do it in the Egyptian border, in the Jordanian, in Lebanon, in Hezbollah, in Gaza. That's what we can do. That's the right spirit to deal with what's going on. And after we'll finish, I'm going to another meeting, and then I'm starting my night tour between the different communities to see in my eyes what's going on, and ask those soldiers that we have in the gates what they will do after they'll finish their army. More and more soldier tells me, young soldier in their duty service, they tell me, we will go back to Nir Oz, to Nirim, to Be'eri. This is the spirit. That's what we will do. Thank you so much.
Eran, thank you so much for your words, your thoughts, and for your strength and all that you are doing for the people in our communities. As you know, JNF-USA was with you yesterday. We are here today for you, and you know we will be there tomorrow for you and work with you to be stronger than ever. I again want to thank all of our speakers. As a reminder, Jewish National Fund USA is participating in the March for Israel rally on the Mall in Washington, D.C., joining thousands upon thousands marching to show our support for Israel, for freeing the hostages, and to combat anti-Semitism. A portion of our live briefing tomorrow will include remarks from our CEO, Russell Robinson, who will be there. We are all finding a way of doing our part, whether it's attending the rally, supporting our critical resilience campaign, calling representatives and urging them to keep advocating for the release of hostages and supporting Israel. We are coming together as a global community. It is important for us as Israel's overseas family to keep this effort up, not to relent. In the first 2 weeks of this war, nearly 60% of Israelis engaged in community and civil service efforts. Our JNF-USA affiliate, for example, Macomb, shared that their seniors group, founded during COVID, was actively participating in farming efforts, contributing to the over 80,000 seniors volunteering throughout farms in Israel, saving crops. With JNF-USA, we have many ways of joining this effort. Join a working mission to Israel, where you can help ensure Israel's food security and work with evacuee families throughout Israel. Go to jnf.org/volunteer-il. You can send a care package to a soldier or an evacuated family through our Small Business Association, supporting businesses in the Galil and Negev by visiting jnf.org/shopping. As you know, education is more important than ever as we face the waves and waves of anti-Semitism and ignorance. Learn with our Alexander Muss High School in Israel educators by signing up for virtual classes at jnf.org/creating borders. And as Hanukkah approaches, spread the light. Order your Hanukkah candles from JNF-USA, knowing that a portion of your purchase will go directly towards our resilience campaign. And of course, we urge you to continue to support the resilience campaign by visiting jnf.org/support Israel. Every dollar raised goes to support the communities, the people, and the Israelis who have been directly affected by this horror. Now I will sign us off until tomorrow's daily briefing at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We will be joined by Colonel Miri Eisen, Director of the International Institute for Counterterrorism, and Mayor Tal Ohana of Yerucham. Once again, thank you for joining us. I'm Yisrael Chai.